In the mid-1880s, a man called Karl Benz changed the world forever. He had created a machine that would go on to revolutionise the way we travel, live and work. It would also lead to the creation of one of Germany's most successful and iconic brands. And it would be involved in one of the most important journeys in history. This machine was of course the Benz Patent Motorwagen, widely considered to be the first car in history. Prior to the creation of the motorwagen, numerous designers and inventors had tried to make a self-powered automobile of their own. The first of these was Ferdinand Verbeest's steam-powered vehicle. Created in 1672, the self-powered machine was designed as a toy for the Chinese emperor. However, due to its small size, it was never intended to carry passengers. Other notable attempts included Nicolas Cognot's steam-powered tricycle, Richard Trevithick's Puffing Devil, and Gustave Travaux' electric-powered car. All of these self-powered machines were somewhat successful. However, the title of the first automobile in history would ultimately go to Karl Friedrich Benz. Karl was an engineer from the town of Mollberg, Germany, and after many disappointments and failures, he created his first two-stroke engine in December 1879. This would put him on a path to design and create the first automobile in history. However, it would be a rough road ahead for the bright and inventive engineer. After his business partner hired a salesman who wound up spending more money than he raised, Karl had to hastily apply for a loan from the banks in Mannheim. Unfortunately, one of the requirements of this loan was that he had to set up a corporation with a 9-member team of directors. The new investors wanted to take the company in a new direction, and even questioned Karl's sanity when he brought up his plans to build a self-powered machine. Because of this, Karl decided to resign from the company in 1883. However, all was not lost. He met two successful businessmen at a bike shop in Mannheim who shared his vision. The three of them decided to form a new company with the primary trade being the production and sales of Karl's stationary engine. With a rapidly expanding business and plenty of funds available, Karl could start working on his dream project, the self-powered carriage, which he completed in 1885. Karl's new self-powered machine would ultimately be called the Motorwagen, and unlike many cars today, it featured a 3-wheeled layout. The steering was carried out by a rack and pinion setup, and leaf spring suspension was used at the back, along with a beam axle and chain drive on both sides. The centrepiece of Karl's new Motorwagen was a 4-stroke 954cc single-cylinder engine that was placed horizontally at the rear of the vehicle. An enormous flywheel sat beneath the engine, and a simple belt drive system acted as a single-speed transmission. The initial trial of the Motorwagen was in autumn. However, things didn't exactly go according to plan. On the initial start, the engine stalled, and then when it was restarted, the drive chain snapped. Undeterred, Karl made several improvements to his creation, and he was ready for another test a couple of weeks later. Unfortunately for Karl, while the Motorwagen worked well, he proceeded to drive it straight into the brick wall of his workshop. For his next tests, he found a bit more space. At this point, he had still not created a fuel tank for his invention. To solve this problem, he enlisted the help of his son Eugene, who ran alongside the vehicle with a can of fuel. With the initial tests out of the way, Karl applied for a patent for his creation. While the patent for his Motorwagen was approved, Karl was still hesitant to begin production of his invention. His testing had been limited to the road and area surrounding his workshop, and he was unsure how the Motorwagen would deal with longer distance trips. The answer to this question was not answered by Karl himself, but by his wife, Bertha. In August 1888, Bertha decided that it would be a good idea to take the second Motorwagen prototype on a long-distance journey from Mannheim to a hometown in Pforzheim, a distance of more than 80 kilometres. Bertha took her 2 sons with her, and she left a note for her husband, informing him of her plans. The 3 left at dawn, passing through Heidelberg and Wiesloch, before arriving at their destination. While the whole trip went surprisingly smoothly, Bertha had some suggestions for her husband's invention, with the main one being a low gear for hills. She had found that her and her 2 sons had to push the motorwagon up every steep incline they came across. With his wife's suggestions in mind, Karl produced a new model. It also came with a slightly more powerful 2 horsepower engine that let the motorwagon reach a maximum top speed of 16 kilometers an hour. By the end of 1888, Karl's 3rd motorwagon was ready and on the road. However, competition from the traditional horse and buggy proved to be higher than he had expected. Part of the problem was that the benzene fuel for his vehicle was not readily available, and at this point in history, fuel stations had not yet been invented. By 1892, things were starting to look up for Karl. He had sold almost a dozen motorwagons and several more were on order. He also released newer iterations with as much as 3 horsepower, making the vehicle much more usable. Karl would go on to develop and patent the double pivot steering system, one of the biggest leaps forward for the automobile. He would also release 2 new models, the Victoria and the Velo, and by the end of the 19th century, his company would be the largest automobile manufacturer in the world. Eventually, the company would merge with Daimler and become known as Mercedes-Benz, one of the most successful and iconic car manufacturers in the world. If you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe and check out garagedreams.net for a full article on the motorwagon. In our next video, we will be looking at the history of this car. Can you guess what it is? Thanks for watching, see you next time.